I'm going to get to mounting up these carbon fiber side skirts here. This came out looking awesome. I am getting ready to fix the door gap on this passenger door. All right guys, I've got this windshield right behind me. It is going to go on this car and I can't wait. Hi everybody, how are you? My name is Dan Dulac and welcome back to my channel where I am building a V10 powered Ultima Evolution convertible. This is episode number 49. You know it by now. If you missed any of the previous ones, go back and check those out. It has been quite the journey. I can start to see the finish line on this one. I am getting more and more excited as every day goes by. And on this episode, we've got some major things we're doing. As you saw in the intro, I'm gonna put on the carbon fiber side skirts that were designed for the RS model, but fit perfectly on the Evo and certainly on my Evo convertible. We're going to fit the windshield. As you can see over my shoulder, the windshield is in place. Not a big job, but finally that is safe and sound on the car and I don't have to risk breaking yet another one, as you saw many episodes ago when I had a little incident with the original windshield. And then lastly, we're going to fix the door gap on the passenger door. It's one of those things, every time I come in the garage and I look at it, that's all I see is this big door gap on the passenger side when all the other gaps, panel gaps on the car are fine. So I think what it is the fiberglass, given it sat for 3 years in various storage locations awaiting me to install it on the car. I think the fiberglass somewhat moved, tweaked a little bit, and that resulted in a 4mm bigger panel gap on the front of the passenger door as compared to the driver's side. So we're gonna fix that today. I've talked to a couple of different Corvette builders that deal with panel gaps and door gaps on fiberglass car bodies. They've got this process down, been doing it for 20 plus years. So we are going to enable that technique on this car so you'll get to see how we do that. So we got a lot to cover on this one. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. All right, I'm gonna get to mounting up these carbon fiber side skirts here. These are side skirts off of the RS, and I ordered them after the fact for the Evo convertible, and they fit perfect. I just held them up with my hands. They fit awesome. A few other builders mentioned the side pods are exactly the same on the Evo model versus the RS model, so I bought these with confidence that they were gonna work. They are held on with riv nuts. I actually lost this little bag of riv nuts. This came with the side skirts and I found it, thankfully. But there are 5 holes, pre-drilled holes in here along, and they're just held in with riv nuts. And a few other builders mentioned being able to take these on and off to clean them and so forth is actually pretty cool. So I'm gonna stick with that. And the riv nuts, I guess, hold them on really, really well since they're really lightweight, not a lot of drag on them. So that should work. And another tip from a couple of builders, on the RS models, there's dimples on the underside of the side pod that mark where you're to drill the holes for the side skirts. Well, it turns out, even though this is an Evo model, Evo convertible, the dimples are there. So makes locating the holes to drill for the riv nuts perfect and super easy. So thank you guys for the tip. The dimples are really subtle. I wouldn't have noticed or found them either way, but after taking a close look and feeling, I could feel along the underside the little dimples there. So that's gonna make mounting these suckers up really, really easy. And I'll tell you what, the quality of these is awesome. The carbon weave, the finish, super, super nice on these. I love the side strake here, the little fin on the back. That's gonna look super, super cool and really accentuate kind of the rear flare on the fenders here around the wheels. So that's gonna look nice. So anyway, let's get to getting these suckers mounted up. this came out looking awesome. Perfect fit on that side pod. No issues at all mounting it up. Although I did have to make provisions for my little access panel here. So you can see I had to do a little cutout here of the carbon just to not interfere with the access panel. But other than that, this came out looking tremendous. 5 button head screws and this thing comes off super easy. So that is that. I'm pretty happy with that. Now we just gotta do the other side and this little project's done. All right, I am getting ready to fix the door gap on this passenger door. So as you can see, I taped it up a little bit, just masking off what I don't want to get any epoxy resin on. I'm gonna sand this edge with some 80 grit, put some good scratch in it so that the epoxy resin will adhere and bond well to this. But basically what I'm gonna do is just simply extend this nose out a little bit. I contemplated doing this on the front bodywork instead of the actual door, but after some research and after seeing some Corvette owners do this on their fiberglass doors, actually using the door lip, like you see here, as a good place to secure the epoxy and fill the body gap versus on the fender or body panel itself. So that's what I'm gonna do. Here is the material I'm using. Again, after some research, this is marine grade, so this resin does not absorb moisture. Obviously this isn't gonna see any water really, but better to be safe than sorry. There's no expansion or contraction of the material through hot and cold cycles and so forth. Does not absorb water. So I'm gonna use this. It's got the fast hardener here, and then I'm actually gonna dye the material black. I've got some black pigment here that I will use when I mix this up. I'll just put a little dab of black pigment, make it black, and that will help match the bodywork here. One other bit of material I forgot to mention is some of this silica. So this is this very fine silica powder here. And what that is I will add that slowly to my epoxy mix and thicken it up until it gets to about the consistency of peanut butter. And that makes it extra thick so that it doesn't run off from the seam. Again, when I dam this up with construction paper, that's extra protection, but that material will be nice and thick, about the consistency of peanut butter or maybe even cream cheese. And we'll dam this up and it'll be nice and thick, so it won't be runny, it won't make a mess, and it will build up really, really easy. That was another big tip I learned, is don't just mix this and think it's gonna work, because it's way too fluid. It's too thin. So you need to really spend some time thickening it up with this filler, silica filler, gradually until it's, again, consistency of about peanut butter. Apply it, and then we should be good to go there. Again, this is all gonna get wrapped. The entire car is gonna get vinyl wrapped. So I'm not too worried about the look, but I do want it to look somewhat finished and smooth anyway. So that is the plan. I am going to use a piece of construction paper, and what we will do is I'll make myself a dam, if you will, dam up the edge so I can really put the epoxy to it. I need to add about 4 mils here along the top side, and then on the bottom side as I round the corner, 3, 2, 1, and that should do it. So just give myself a measurement there. We'll create a dam with this stuff to give the epoxy something to fall into, and then we'll get to building this out. Again, watched a few videos on YouTube, Corvette owners doing some body work on their fiberglass doors. This is the material they used. This was the technique they used, and it came out really, really well. So I'm gonna give that a shot, and we'll see how it goes. Let's get after it. All right, we've got this all masked off and ready to go. So as you saw, I used a little bit of construction board to give some of this taping, give some of this tape some backing here, some strength. And you'll see what I use, this green tape. This is actually tape for powder coating. It's high temp plastic tape. And the reason I'm using this is the epoxy will not adhere to this. So I can create a nice smooth joint here. And when it's all cured, I can simply peel right off. And so the epoxy won't stick to it, which makes it super, super nice. Should make for a nice smooth joint there that won't require a ton of sanding. So that's my goal there. The inside here, this is the inside of the door edge. I sanded with 80 grit just to give it some scratch, to give the epoxy something to bond to. And I'll try to finish this obviously as smooth as I can on the inside, but given it is on the inside, it doesn't have to be perfect. But certainly the outer lip here I want as perfect as possible. So let's get to applying the epoxy. You can see here I marked how many millimeters I need to extend this nose on the edge of the door. So 4 millimeter here, this is on the top side of the door, transitions to 3 mil, then down to 2, down to 1, and then this line here is I can taper it completely off at that point. So that's all marked up, ready to go. I might end up doing this in 2 stages, where I'll do the horizontal surface, let it cure up, and then flip the door so that this is now horizontal, so I don't get any running of the material. Again, I'm gonna make it the consistency of peanut butter, so it should stick, but just in case, no sense in fighting gravity here on the vertical surface. So I might do it here in a couple stages. So let's get to mixing the material here and let's get after it. Well, I forgot to turn the camera on for this first application. I'll do that for the second one here. But you can see here how it turns out set up. It's already setting up pretty quick. And this should clean up really nice. Again, the outside edge is gonna be super smooth. And then this side, I'll just sand and clean it up again. That doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, my pot over here is already set up. This cup is hot to the touch. And you can see it's rock hard in there already. So that stuff sets up quick. So let's let this dry on its side so I can do this section, and we'll blend it into the corner and we should be good to go. Okie dokie. Well, I've got this side all done too, so I think that's ready to set up now. We'll let this set overnight, and in the morning we'll come back and unmask and see what kind of mess we made. But should be easy to sand off, get right. I don't even know if I'll need any body filler if I've done this right. So we'll see. Let's see what happens tomorrow. it's all cured. It's hard. All right, let me set this camera on the tripod, and then we will start taking off all my masking and see how we look. I'm so curious how this is gonna come out. Yeah, that plastic tape, powder coat tape works awesome. It just comes right off. We have got the door on here, and I am pretty pleased. Even after the first basic sanding, you can see the gap here. It looks pretty darn good. It's a little tight up here still, so I've got some sanding to do on this upper side, but in this corner here is a little high. But boy, that came out really nice. I'm pretty happy with that. And now I'm just gonna work on just some finish sanding, and I'm thinking what I can do is there's the little seam right here. I might be able to just put some gel coat in there and then wet sand and polish and get this nice and smooth. Again, it's gonna get wrapped, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but boy, that sure did fill that gap in really nice. I'm pretty happy with that. That gap is almost perfect. So that epoxy, boy, that is super strong seam. I'm really happy with how that came out. That's not going anywhere. Fairly easy to sand, and I think we'll be in good shape there. All right, guys, I'm pretty stoked about how that door came out. Again, the panel gap wasn't that big, 4 millimeters at most, but let me show you the final product here. I've got the sanding done. I think I'm done with it for now. I think actually even the wrap will go over it without even seeing anything with that new bullnose I put on the edge of that door. So let's take a look. All right, here's the door, and it is all complete. Hopefully you can see this. I know the reflections are tough with this black color, but it's all sanded over. I sanded the edge here nice and smooth, and that's what that side looks like. Let me flip it over and I'll show you the underside as well. So there you can see, pretty nice. Blends it right in nice, and I think that came out exactly the way I'd hoped. So when the wrap comes over, the vinyl will just obviously go over this. Nice smooth edges here. And that's a wrap on that, so to speak. So pretty happy with how this came out. I'm gonna get this back on the car and we'll be done with that. That was just a little pet peeve I wanted to take care of, finish up as I'm finishing up this bodywork. All right, I have got the passenger door back on the car, the door edge here, and here is the final result. I think this came out exactly like I had hoped. You can see it's just dull there where I sanded that epoxy, but there's barely any ridge there that I can feel with my finger. It rounded the corner off here nicely, so that fits the profile of the gap. I think that came out looking better than I had hoped it would. I didn't want to make a mess of, with sanding marks or anything on the gel coat, so I was as delicate as I possibly could be. And now we have an exact match to the driver's side with the door gap. So you may have been wondering too why I left the mirror post in while I was doing all that work, taking the door on and off. It's because there's some wires that feed down in here. And given the tight tolerance of this hole, you can't get the wire down there. You have to pull it kind of out of this upright post, and it's just a pain in the butt. So I just decided to leave it in there, and it's fine. I've actually got the mirrors in there as well. So that's in. All right, guys, I've got this windshield right behind me. It is gonna go on this car, and I can't wait, man. If you remember many episodes ago, I cracked this thing, had to order a new one, and I'm sick and tired of worrying about breaking this one, given where my storage unit is up here over the garage. So anyways, we're gonna get the body masked up here. We're gonna get the windshield on finally, permanently for the final time. And I could stop worrying about cracking yet another windshield. So anyway, let's get after it. All right, we have got the windshield all masked up, ready to go, as well as the front canopy. So this thing is ready for some adhesive primer, windshield primer on these edges here. Then we will put this stuff on. So just polyurethane adhesive for windshields. I got 2 tubes just in case. We'll put the primer on, we'll let it dry for about 10 minutes. We'll put a coat of primer on the inside of this glass, the underside here. Let that dry for 10 minutes. Then we will apply the windshield adhesive along this ridge all the way around, and then we'll put this in place. First thing I'm gonna do though is test fit this. So I'll fit this in there. We'll make some measurement lines, some reference lines here and on the top of the front over here, just so we can make sure it's lined up perfect when we go to set this in place for the final time. So all prepped, almost ready to rip. The other thing you notice I did is I decided to use some of this line tape, this fine line tape here on the edge. I tried just overlapping some tape and then using the razor to cut the edge, a crisp line, as the factory assembly manual says to do. But what I noticed is there's multiple layers of glass here, and the razor was getting caught and the tape wasn't cutting cleanly. So what I decided to do was I just used some of this thin line tape and just carefully put it on the very edge for a nice crisp line there. So easy, much easier to do than trying to cut that with a razor blade. All right, guys, well, the windshield is there. It's in. I'm pretty pumped. Came out all right. Boy, that polyurethane windshield adhesive, though, that stuff is messy and tricky to work with. In general, I think I got it down there nice and smooth, all the way around. There's a couple of spots I'm going to touch up, I think. Over here on the side, I missed a little smudge mark right there, and then another one just below it. So I think once that dries, I can remask and just do a little skim coat on there. But in general, I think it is looking good, boy. We get ourselves a windshield. This thing is starting to come together. Cool, all right, we're gonna let this set up overnight, and we can fix up the polyurethane there a little bit, touch up some spots. Then we can put the windshield wiper arms on and so forth, and keep it going. And next up, I'm gonna work on some electronics to get my dash operational. So I wanna get the factory ECUs sending telemetry to the Motec dash. I've been studying CAN bus and Motec software for weeks, and I think I finally am close to figuring that out and giving that a shot on there. So we're gonna get that going next. All right, guys, that's gonna have to wait till the next episode. We've run out of time on this one, but on the next episode, we are going to spend some time reverse engineering the OEM CAN bus so that I can get some telemetry off from it, like RPM, oil temperature, water temperature, etc., onto the Motec display. So that requires some reverse engineering. It's going to require some Motec software work. I'm going to take you through that process from start to finish. It'll be somewhat of a different video in that I'm really going to kind of treat it like a tutorial. I've had a lot of you ask me to do that, to make that episode so that you can learn. So if you've got a project on your own when you're trying to get some telemetry off of your vehicle, how you can, the process by which you reverse engineer, capture that telemetry and program it into, say, an AIM, dash, data logger, a Motec, a Haltech. It's all the same process. So we're gonna cover that in detail from soup to nuts. So I'm excited to kind of do a little bit of a different video, more of a tutorial one. We're gonna get into some bits and bytes, literally, and some of the software as well to do that. The other thing we're gonna do is I've learned that, if you remember, I couldn't get the car to move in the last episode. I would put it into gear. The computer thought it was in gear, but the mechatronic wouldn't activate the gears. It was like the clutch wasn't activating on the transmission. So I've since learned that I have to have the e-brake enabled. Now the e-brake system in the original R8, from which the donor vehicle where this engine and trans came from, is long gone. I don't have the electronic parking brake assembly. So what I'm going to do is also reverse engineer that. I happen to pick up an electronic parking brake controller as well as the gateway. We're going to wire that into my CAN network on the car and see if I can trick the ECU. I even got the electronic parking brake button for the R8 as well. I'm going to wire that all up, see if I can trick the ECU into thinking it's activated an emergency brake or the parking brake, so that it will allow me to do the transmission adjust feature within the VCDS software. So turns out I can use VCDS to do that. Thank you for some of my followers and bringing that to my attention as well. So next episode is going to be full on about electronics, and we're going to go deep on the CAN bus, and then hopefully we're going to get this parking brake situation sorted so I can get the transmission mechatronic programmed, since it's a brand new one, and then we can drive this car. So fingers crossed that happens. So a lot coming in the next one. So until then, we'll see you next time.